Hello, my name is Joetta. I am from Joetta, Arizona, and that's where I grew up with my family. I grew up in a Navajo traditional home, not knowing about God, the Bible, or church. But it was God who used special people in my life, and one of them was my grandmother who had passed away, and she was a Christian. And I remember going to her funeral, and everyone was talking about God and that she's in heaven. And I didn't know much about that, so it made me more curious about death and what happens after I would die. And God used another person in my life who was my cousin's sister. And she came over and told us about church that she went to that night and invited us to a Sunday service. I, for one, did not want to go, but God used my older sister to want to go to church. She did not want to go alone, so I went with her. And so we both went that one Sunday. And after that Sunday, she wanted to continue to go. Soon after that fourth Sunday, I realized I wasn't listening to any of the preachings that was going on. But that one Sunday, I remember God used a preacher, Brother Pastor Hogue, from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And he was giving a sermon on hell. And that's where I knew I would go if I didn't have Christ in my life. After the church services was over, invitation happened. I did not go down because I was too scared. But I had the courage to talk to his wife, who was able to talk to me after church. She went through the Romans Road, told me that I go to hell, that I'm a sinner, that I would go to hell if I didn't have Christ in my life. And then I realized I do need Christ. And I accepted Christ that day. I prayed and asked God to forgive me for my sins, and knew that I'm a sinner, and accepted him as my Savior. And that's how I knew Christ as my Savior, and I was age 19 at the time. And in that same church at Mountain View Baptist Church is when I met my husband, who was already there at the time, serving the Lord, and did not think God would put us together, but he did, which was amazing. And we got married 2 years later. He had told me his call to be a missionary, and I had to pray about that to see if that was also part of my will, going to be a missionary as well. But it didn't take long for me to, know that that's God's will for me. And so I said, I love my husband, I'm going to follow my husband, I love God, and I'm going to do what God called my husband to do, and just be a missionary wife. And now we are serving there in Chinle, Arizona. We are church planter missionaries to the Navajo reservation, and that's my testimony. Thank you.